A brain is not fully developed until the age of 25. Our health specialist Leah Sarich is here now with how stress and mental illness can adversely affect that growing brain and why it's so important to get treatment for our children as soon as possible. I'm glad there is growing awareness of this, Leah.
This is really important. So I spoke with Frank McMaster about this, who is an incredible guy. He's so great, so warm, and so much information he has. So first of all, he said, let's talk about the kinds of stress, because some stress is good for kids. So he said positive stress is really good for kids. You know, small stresses like they're nervous to ask the girl to the dance, or they're anxious about their upcoming driving exam. He said that's good stress. It teaches them about resilience. He says that's good. There's tolerable stress. So this is the kind of stress where something bad has happened, but a child has lots of support from the home, from the community, that kind of thing, and they'll get through it. So that's tolerable stress. We're talking about negative stress. So this is when something bad happens again, but they just don't have the supports and the coping mechanisms around them for these children. So when they see this negative stress and it continues over a long period of time, this can really negatively affect a child's developing brain.
It can cause actual physical damage to the person's health, and for a child, it can actually change their brain development as well. And for kids, you know, when you think about brains are built over time, that you're not born with your adult brain. Childhood and adolescence is when you really start to put that together. And what happens is stress can actually derail that and change that trajectory and cause physical changes to how the brain develops over time.
So in fact, Professor McMaster has actually seen this, and this is what we're looking at. So these are actual brain scans of children. That little red circle there is right around the hippocampus, and that's the small part of the brain that controls things like learning and memory. That is the part of the brain that is adversely affected. So it's not growing properly, it's not functioning properly, even the neurochemistry in that part of the brain is not working properly. Because what's happening is when you're stressed for a long time, the hormones that you're releasing are affecting that part of the brain. So Professor McMaster says he sees these negative changes in the brains of these children, but he also sees it in the brains of children that are suffering from mental illness, so things like depression and anxiety, because those act just like stress on these developing brains. So this is his advice for parents to really take this seriously.
The big thing is to talk with your child, and telling parents to talk to their teenage kids can be a little daunting sometimes. They can get a little nervous about that sort of thing, but really you want to keep those lines of communication open. You want to model good coping behavior for your child as well. You want to show them how you cope so they can pick that up. Kids learn from their parents. That's one of the big things.
They sure do learn from their parents. So they're learning coping skills from their parents, they're talking to their parents, but then that's also the question of treatment, seeking treatment. Doesn't necessarily have to be medication, it can be behavioral therapy, but it's a question of just seeking that treatment as soon as possible. Because Dr. McMaster says, you know, it's all about doing the small fire, putting that out before it becomes the big brush fire.
Okay, and we're looking right now.
This is the brain again, so there's the healthy brain on the left and the healthy hippocampus. That is not what we were seeing in the other pictures, Okay, this is what we're looking for.
So when we start sort of getting past adolescence or into teenagehood, moody teenagers, it's a thing. It's a natural part of growing up and hormones and all of that. What's the difference then between a naturally moody teenager and somebody who's going through something different?
That's right. So we get this question all the time. Dr. Master gets this all the time, and he says it's a question of magnitude. So here are the things to watch out for, the warning signs. Is it affecting their ability to concentrate and make decisions? And you'll see that in their schoolwork. So their schoolwork will start to drop off. Things they used to enjoy, they don't enjoy anymore. That's a big flag. Social withdrawal, changes in appetite and sleeping. These are warning signs that we need to pay attention to, that this is not your regular moody teenager, this is a teenager likely suffering from depression.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's huge for sure. And something else to think about is that we do have wonderful clinical trials that Dr. McMaster is actually involved in right here in Calgary. So if your child is one of these kids exactly that is suffering from maybe depression and they're resistant to the treatment that they're already on, it's just not working, go to my blog. You can get into one of these clinical trials and get access to some of the newest medications and some great treatment.
Okay, check it out, breakfasttelevision.ca. Health specialist Leah Sarich, thank you for this.
You're very welcome.